Hi everyone, welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail. We're now embarking on a scenic journey over the highway in the sky, non-stop directly to the Magic Kingdom, directly to the Magic Kingdom, non-stop Kingdom. We're now on the final leg of our journey over the highway in the sky. Just ahead you can see the beautiful Cinderella Castle, Adventureland, Frontierland, Liberty Square, Fantasyland, Tomorrowland, and Main Street, USA. Please lower your head and watch your step. Watch your step. Lower your head, watch your step. Magic Kingdom, to the Magic Kingdom, Magic Kingdom.
May Walt Disney World bring joy and inspiration and new knowledge to all who come to this happy place. A Magic Kingdom where the young at heart of all ages can laugh and play and learn together.
Watch your step. Lower your head, watch your step.
Your attention, please. The Walt Disney World Railroad now boarding for a scenic trip around the Magic Kingdom.
Main Street, USA.
Good evening, my friend. Welcome to the show. I am Lou Mangello. It is Wednesday night, so it is box night here at WDWRadioLive.com. If you are watching live, sit back, relax, grab a snack from the fridge, get comfortable. More importantly, tag and invite somebody in the comments to come and join us this evening. If you are watching on the replay, don't forget, especially with next week coming up, to turn on notifications, not only to join us Wednesday at 7:30, but we're going to be live all next weekend from D23 Expo. The brains falling out of my face with the level of excitement that I have for next week. This will be not just the 5th year of Expo, but the 5th year that we will be back on the show floor. WDW Radio, Mouse Fan Travel, Lou and Becky joining forces on the show floor right on the corner of Mickey Avenue, like primo location. So if you are wandering the floor, please make sure and come by. And if you are not able to make it out, don't forget that we're going to be broadcasting live all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Next weekend, we will be on the show floor. We will be covering and reviewing panels and presentations. I will take you into a lot of the booths on the show floor. So you are going to see the parks. You're going to see Imagineering. You are going to see, and I'll talk about what I think some of the things you're going to see. You're also going to see the Emporium and all of the cool exhibitors there. We'll also go through Mickey's of Glendale and a few other places that I am looking forward to covering, not just for you, but with you, and more importantly, as a fan first. I am ridiculously excited for what is to come. If you've never been to Expo before, I will tell you that it is, without question, still remains an incredibly pleasantly surprising event. I remember the first year that they announced it, having no idea what to expect, shocked that they would let us as third-party content providers not only be there to cover it, but be there on the show floor. But I really love not just the ability to cover it for you and show it to you live, but for those of you who are going to be there, it's a lot of fun that we get to do together. And the WDW Radio Mouse Fan Travel booth really sort of operates as kind of a home base. Again, I should have brought up the map. On the corner of Mickey Avenue, right near the stage queuing area. Not surprisingly, we're also by the food, so they know us well. If you haven't been there before, if you have no idea what to expect, here's a little recap of what you missed and what we did at 2017's D23 Expo.
Good morning from Disney's D23 Expo 2017. I am Lou Mangello. You are my friend, and I am so excited to be back here for the 5th time of Disney's D23 Expo. One of the things that we as Disney enthusiasts have been so excited for since the announcement came out is the creation of Star Wars Land. For the first time, we are able to see the model, so I am super excited.
We get to actually fly or be part of an experience inside the Millennium Falcon.
Isn't that what you always wanted to do, right? Yes. Come aboard that cockpit, sit down in the
40 years I've been waiting for this.
It's going to be amazing. You're going to love it.
So 2 questions for you. 1, can you sing like Ariel?
I can sing.
Really? Well, 3 questions now. 1A, can you sing right now?
Because you asked me to, I guess.
What is the best thing you've seen so far on the show floor? Other than right here, right now.
I mean, well, not really.
Not really.
Do you understand the scope and the magnitude? I kind of want to hug you right now.
Bring it in.
Yeah, brother.
D23 Expo 2017!
So that marks the end of an amazing, exciting 2017 D23 Expo. Thanks to all of you who joined us on the floor or online. I'm Lou Mangello. You are my friend. Thank you so very much for watching. See ya.
Please keep in mind that the camera adds 10 pounds and he was using 6 very old, very wide fisheye type lenses last year. It's 2017. It seems like it was eons ago, except when it comes to planning for Expo, and then we're scrambling. Literally, it's as if I didn't know that it was 2 years away. I have been scrambling for the past couple of weeks to get stuff ready and shipped out. By the way, Audio Tour is still on sale for $10 to help cover all of the shipping costs. But there's a lot of fun stuff coming back to the booth this year. A lot of surprises. You saw our AT-AT Walker made out of balloons in 2017. I cannot, nor will I, for fear of death by the hands of Becky Menken from MEI Mouse Fan Travel, hint to anything that is going to be at or in, around, over the booth this year. I've said too much already. But there's going to be surprises. There's going to be giveaways. There's going to be special guests and interviews. I've already started talking to some people about coming by the booth. Haven't told Becky yet. Have not told Becky yet. I like the surprise aspect because it freaks her the freaked out, and my phone will be ringing any second or so. Becky said she shipped the last of her stuff today. I thought about it, but I'm checking a bag instead. It's cheaper to It's cheaper to check a giant bag than it is to ship it. It's crazy. Corey Bassett, by the way, is going to be not just there in the booth on the box. He is going to be the keeper of the box once again. So if you can't make it out live, don't forget. And this is where we really need your help, especially day before, day of, as we go live, throughout the day at unspecified times, because we don't know what's going to be happening when. It's a very, very chaotic, in a wonderful yet dynamic kind of way. We need you to make sure that when we go live, you share it, you tag a friend, you invite other people to watch. That's the best way to help get the word out. So you can just use the D23ExpoLive.com link, WDWRadioLive.com, whatever works, it will get you here. But I know a lot of people I'm seeing in here in the box are going to be there. Ashley and a few others keep asking about predictions, and I think this will be fun this year. And I want to preface what I'm going to talk about tonight by saying I know nothing, and what I do know as fact, I'm not going to speak about tonight. So there are going to be some things you're going to say, Mangello, how come you're not talking about X? Because I might know something about X that it is not for me to reveal or disclose, but I will talk about some of the things that either I think are going to be certainly brought up, maybe some things that are going to be announced. Kendall is asking if I can broadcast any of the panels. We'll find out once we get there. However, I did get an email from Disney today. Actually, everybody might have gotten the same message from Disney. They are going to determine at some point what panels and presentations they might broadcast. Now, I don't know if that means simulcast in the convention center or if that means broadcast publicly. I know last year I think I was the only one that broadcast the Parks and Resorts panel. They have told us that is a no-no this year, so we are not going to be able to broadcast the panels, but what we will do is be able to go right back to the booth, talk about what we learned and heard, and we're also going to have a bunch of unofficial roving reporters. So if you're on the show floor, if you're there, you see something cool, you hear something cool, come back to the booth. We'll get you on mic. We'll get you on the air. This way we can share it with those people who can't be here. Tamara Restivo says it's so cool. Your first time in the group. Thank you very much for watching tonight. And like I said, it's going to be all about D23 Expo and what I thought I would do. Wait a minute. Sorry, I didn't realize people are trying to call. What I thought I would do. We'll take some calls in a little bit. Draw a flip book of the park. My flip book would take me hours, and you'd get one stick figure that looks all like the rest of the stick figures. But what I will do is I will share my thoughts, my predictions, and maybe even a bit of a wish list. And then if we have time, I'll ask you to maybe write in or call in yours as well. I'm going to start outside the parks first because I think for a lot of us, that's where a lot of the juiciest meat is going to be on the bone. So I'm going to start off. I think Disney Plus is going to be, I think we know a lot about what's coming to Disney Plus in terms of the bundling, the pricing, some of the content. I think what we are absolutely going to see, Star Wars fans rejoice. I think that you are going to get that full trailer that a lot of us saw at Star Wars Celebration in February, somewhere around there. I think you will see a fuller, less of a rough cut of The Mandalorian, maybe. And I think you might also learn a little bit more about Cassian Andor, who is going to have a live-action series based on the character from Rogue One. I also think we're going to potentially see, not just, we've heard a lot about what's coming from Marvel, from Kevin Feige over at Hall H at Comic-Con. I think we're going to get a little bit more in terms of not a trailer, but a teaser. So I think we're going to see some Black Widow. I think we're going to see some Loki. I think we're going to see maybe even some rough stuff from the What If series. I would not be all that surprised if, well, I'm not sure if they're ready to give us a look at the Falcon / Cap / Winter Soldier as well. Now, one thing that's going to be really, really interesting, and it was a relatively late addition to the lineup, but it's kind of a big deal, is the Simpsons panel is going to be that weekend. You know, I think the Simpsons, and I don't know if this is the time and or the place. I think the Simpsons are an interesting property because they are potentially a pawn. They are potentially a negotiation property. While I think that there may be, and this is more wish list, that the Simpsons would get pulled from Universal and make their home in Disney, or vice versa, the Simpsons would be a bargaining chip for Disney to say, hey, Universal, here's the Simpsons, you give us Marvel, everybody goes home happy. I don't think this is the time nor the place. What I do think could potentially happen, though, is that the Simpsons, they may get pulled from Fox Television and move over exclusively to Disney Plus. That would not be necessarily outside the realm of possibility. It does a lot of things that is a win-win for everybody, including, as if you didn't have enough reasons to subscribe to Disney Plus before, oh, by the way, now we're going to bundle Hulu. Oh, by the way, here's 600 plus episodes of The Simpsons. I would not be surprised. Jim says he doesn't want to see them at Walt Disney World. Jim, I don't think that you will. I don't think that's in the immediate or even long-term plans. I don't. I'll talk more about the parks when I get to the. Well, you know what? Let's move over to the parks, right? Let's move over to the parks, we'll circle back to some of the other things in no particular order, right? And then let's maybe start with the 30,000-foot view and work backwards from there. I think what we're going to hear a lot about in the parks panel has to do with Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary. Much as we've seen in past expos and parks and resorts panels, we'll start to get concept art, we'll start to get names, we'll start to get a little bit of details. I think that what we might get is it's sort of the Disney way, 50 new things or 50 updates or 50 changes coming for 50 years. What I think that entails, and I'll go into what I think is going to be changing park by park and even land by land, is I would not be surprised to see some updates or refreshing to some classic Walt Disney World attractions. This is like it's treading on very dangerous ground, right? We saw that with the Enchanted Tiki Room under new management. Not a big fan favorite. When you mess with a classic, you potentially are updating it for a newer generation, newer technology. You're also potentially upsetting the nostalgic, sentimental traditionalists. I do, however, believe that we are going to get updates to some classic attractions. I would not be surprised to see Tiki Room get an update. I would not be surprised to see Small World get some of the animated and Pixar characters as we've seen in some of the other Small Worlds domestically and internationally, which I dig. They're subtle. They're wonderful things to find, and they blend in, I think, seamlessly. I have a strong tendency to feel that there's a few other classic attractions that are going to get updates, and whatever, it doesn't matter. I think Country Bears might get a little bit of tweaking, and I think there's a few others, and I think maybe what I'll do is I'll sort of go park by park. I am seeing Haunted Mansion under new management. I don't necessarily believe so. Will there be a tie-in for the Jungle Cruise movie? I think you will, and I was going to talk about the movies. I think we're going to see a Jungle Cruise trailer. It very much might tie into, oh, by the way, just in time for the 50th, there's going to be a tie-in for the Jungle Cruise attraction. I think it serves multiple masters. Disney is all about synergy. That makes complete sense. David Potts, does Walt Disney World get a Hatbox Ghost? I don't know, and to a certain degree, understand my meaning, I'm not sure that I care. And why I say that is because I like the idea of having unique offerings in the various parks. Right? I don't want to have carbon copies of Walt Disney World and Disneyland because all of a sudden it negates the need or the desire to go to both. Keep Guardians, their Guardians there, have a different Guardians here, keep our tower here, keep the attractions different where and when they can. Let's sort of narrow down. Let's go down, park by park. Let's start over in Magic Kingdom. I think we're going to obviously see more about Tron, not as much as maybe you might expect because we already know what Tron is going to look like. You want to see Tron, please don't. I would not go watch the videos, but if you want to, go ahead. Of the video of the Tron attraction in the Shanghai park, it is basically an exact carbon copy. What I think you're going to see in relation to Tron is going to be an overarching update to Tomorrowland as a whole. This is probably not a huge shock to you based on, again, the handwriting clearly, if you step back, is on the wall. The closing of Stitch's Great Escape, the repainting of certain areas, the removal and the refurbishment of the gateway arch, the removal of some of the small storytelling elements, the robot newsboy, the telephone, the galactic telephone. What I think you're going to see specifically in Tomorrowland is not just an overall retheming of the land. I think we are going to get away from the red line, blue line, transit authority, somewhat futuristic space city. What I think that's also going to entail is an expansion of Tomorrowland. I don't just mean where Tron is, but I believe that area which is currently walled off in between the Carousel of Progress and the Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin exit used to be the Galaxy Palace Theater that now blocks a backstage cast member parking lot area. There's a huge, do your Google mapping, there's a huge bit of space, accidental pun, that can be utilized and I think will be utilized for another attraction for Tomorrowland. I think what that also is going to do is necessitate an update to some existing attractions there, most notably the Speedway. I think it is going to be made to feel more futuristic. I think obviously electric cars and an appropriate sponsor makes perfect sense there, especially because it's located near Tron. You might even be able to tie in the theming a little bit if you wanted to connect those experiences. I also think that Tomorrowland might not be the only land that is potentially ripe for some TLC, and I think Adventureland. I love it the way it is. However, we talked about the Jungle Cruise. Adventureland also has some room in it for some possible expansion. I'm not talking about a giant e-ticket attraction, but there is a little bit of room to bump out and do some creative things with the space in Adventureland. I would not be surprised if that maybe isn't even announced now, but is not necessarily in the drawing board. And I think those things and a few others that I very, very strongly believe are coming, so I choose not to share those here. I believe that not only will you see this during the Chapek Iger Parks and Resorts presentation, I think you're going to see a Magic Kingdom model at the Imagineering booth. I would really not be surprised to see models, sketches, concept art of some changes coming to Magic Kingdom. Not necessarily in time for the opening of the 50th, but maybe associated with it. Now, I think the park that we are going to hear most about, or at least at the forefront, I almost envision a "but wait, there's one more thing" type of presentation, is certainly going to be Epcot Center, which again might also be getting some nomenclature changes as well. I think they are going to very much focus on this idea of imagining tomorrow today type of concept. I absolutely believe there is an Epcot model that will make its appearance on Saturday, whenever it is, at the Imagineering Pavilion. Because I think this is what a lot of the major changes are going to take place. Let's start off in Future World, which may not actually keep its name as Future World. I would not be surprised if the concept of Future World didn't change, because we see how difficult it is to adhere to that nomenclature, right? This idea of focusing on stuff that's coming in the future, we catch up to it very quickly. You know, the sense that normally technology doubles every 7 years, that number is getting a lot shorter, a lot lower, a lot quicker. So trying to keep things modern, Spaceship Earth, is a very, very daunting, difficult, and expensive task. Clearly, we are starting to see a movement away from Epcot Center being the city of the future, unless we know that the Guardians of the Galaxy in the future. We are going to get a name for the attraction. I believe we are going to get some video of the attraction. I would not be surprised to see the queue and maybe even a ride vehicle, some of that Imagineering test footage just down the way. I think we're going to get a very close look at what this space-themed restaurant, Mission Space, is going to look like, taste like, sound like. Give me the names as well. I think we're going to learn a lot about what this play pavilion is going to be, and I think more importantly and more as an overarching change, how the Main Street USA of Epcot Center, interventions, Communicore, or whatever you want to call it, how that is going to change too. I think for many, many years, it has unfortunately not been able to figure out its identity other than swapping in and out some relatively temporary exhibits from different corporate sponsors. To that point, Spaceship Earth relatively recently lost its sponsor. I have always felt that the descent of Spaceship Earth felt temporary to me. I think it is to a certain degree temporary because I think we are going to get maybe not the rumored Project Gemini update from many years ago, but we are going to get a major update, not just to the attraction, but to the post-show. So I think if you love yourself some Judi Dench, you might want to go and say your fond farewells relatively soon. I think that we are going to wish list item. I don't think this is going to happen. Wish list item, bring back a World Showcase parade. Tapestry of Nations, Tapestry of Dreams. You heard me talk about it. Hopefully you heard me talk about it on this week's show. Wait, I've got it. There it is. You heard me talk about Tapestry of Nations, Tapestry of Dreams on this week's show. I don't think that's going to come back, but I would not mind seeing a World Showcase parade. But however, I digress. Certainly, there's been rumors, not just this year, not just this month, but for 5-10 years of new pavilions coming. I think this is finally the year it happens. What I don't know is the scale of it. Is it a single? And I don't think it would be a one. I think we'll be getting multiple pavilions. I don't know specifically. We've heard rumors of Brazil. We've heard rumors of Peru. I have wish list ones, and I want you to call in with your wish list or go to the Box People group. Somebody start that in the Box People group if you can. A wish list of pavilions that you would like to see come to World Showcase, with the caveat, it's a wish list. Dreamers, dream big. Don't think about money. Don't think about politics. Don't think about, cultural climate. A wish list of places you'd like to come. Give me Greece. Give me Egypt. I do believe that there will be a South American edition, and I would prefer just to leave it at that. We are going to get representation of a South American country, and I believe right in between Italy and Germany, I think that's the prime sort of location right there. You might want to say goodbye to the trains, but there's a few locations, and that is definitely one of them. So Katie says Russia, it'll never happen. But listen, Russia, was supposed to be there. I mean, Russia, Venezuela. I mean, there were a lot of Israel, Africa, Spain were all pavilions that were very, very much literally on the drawing board to come. A lot of people are saying that they'd like to see Greece, and says Australia, Kenya, Brazil. And I would love to see, years ago, there was a blue sky concept, and I have seen drawings of a monumental expansion to World Showcase, meaning to give you an idea where it would be, where World Showcase Pavilion, World Showplace Pavilion currently sits, they would actually blow out the lagoon, expand it, and create a second smaller lagoon there, which would give additional area and frontage for not just one, not two, not three, but multiple new pavilions. There was also supposed to be a hotel attached to, like, right on the theme park. If you Google map it, they can finagle some space back there. There's some cast member parking. There's the Reedy Creek Fire Department can easily be moved to another location. So there is certain potential there as well. Let's hop over to Disney's Hollywood Studios, still holding our breath to find out what the new name. Remember when they announced a new name for Disney's Hollywood Studios? I don't know if that's actually happening. We've seen a new logo. Okay, not very much different. Maybe it's not different on purpose. Maybe it's because this new name and possibly new storytelling direction for Hollywood Studios is what they've been waiting for. 2021, the anniversary of the park, might just be the right timing. What do I think we're actually going to see from a realistic perspective? I think we're going to actually see ride video of Mickey's Runaway God, I can never say that. Runaway Railway. Kevin Rafferty, others have been teasing this earworm type musical soundtrack that supposedly is I think we're finally going to get it. I think we'll finally hear a little bit of what that's going to be. I also think, riding on the heels of the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opening and the excitement, I think we're going to get a peek at Rise of the Resistance. And because I keep hearing, and I talked to somebody else who I will only say is intimately familiar with the project, and to see this person try and restrain themselves as they describe certain elements to me was not unique to other people that I've spoken to. So I think it's time to drop a little bit of a tease, which also does what? It whets the appetite. It gets you primed and ready to come or come back at the end of the year, December 5th here in Walt Disney World, or early January out in Disneyland. The word groundbreaking has been used to me more than once. I want to sort of get a sense of what exactly that means. I think we're going to find out more about it took me this long to get to dining, by the way, the Toy Story Land full-service themed restaurant, and what that is going to look and sound and feel and taste like. Blue Sky. Blue Sky, I know nothing. However, I think if you look at a number of relatively minor indicators and piece them together, it would not be outside the realm of possibility to see, pausing for effect, an update and a change to Rock and Roller Coaster, no longer starring Aerosmith. And it's funny because Steven Tyler visited the attraction relatively recently. It almost makes me feel like, were you going to say goodbye? Did you want to see it one more time? Did you want to, was there some reason why you were there? It just sort of gives me a little feeling, and maybe, just maybe, the change or the retheming is not necessarily tied to an outside musical group that has fans and doesn't have fans. Not everybody is in a Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, or just an Aerosmith without a roller coaster fan. However, there are some things that Disney owns that people are very much fans of, would be appropriate for this park. It would not be a duplicate, but can certainly, we see the success of its West Coast counterpart. I would not be surprised to see an Incredibles roller coaster in the dark. Just think about how cool that could be using appropriate special effects, great soundtrack. You've got Munisburg right down the street near the old Pixar place. You never know. You never know. That being said, with some additions and changes, I think also comes some fond farewells. I like to, play devil's advocate, assuming that maybe I'm on the right track. It might be time to go and say goodbye. Maybe we'll even have a WDW. Wait a second. Somebody remind me this. September's meet of the month is going to be at its. Well, I take that back. Once we find out what's going away, but this could be where and if it is, I do believe that one section of Hollywood Studios is going to get a major change. And that section is Voyage of the Little Mermaid and Star Wars, the Launch Bay. I think Launch Bay is gone, and I think that Launch Bay is gone, and I think Voyage of the Little Mermaid I think it's time. I think it's time for a lot of reasons. I don't necessarily think that it will potentially affect the Playhouse Disney Junior, because I think it needs to serve the under 9-year-old demographic. That's the perfect venue for it. Although I know Becky does not like the fact that all those children are so close to Club 33, but they do a good job of really segmenting and separating the two. But I think Voyage of the Little Mermaid and Launch Bay are gone. That being said, moving over to Disney's Animal Kingdom, it's less about what is necessarily going away as opposed to what may be coming in. I do believe that Pandora... You're like, Pandora just opened. Nothing's going away. I believe Pandora is going to get an announced expansion. Why? 2 reasons. One, Pandora opened smaller than it was originally planned. My understanding is that the Navi River Journey was supposed to be a longer attraction. It was cut for budget and time and other reasons. There's also land and space behind Satuli Canteen to the left, sort of behind the Wind Traders. There's a large sort of barn door area to cast member. Look, again, there's space back there. What do I think is going to go there? And I said this on our Nation group call on Monday, not even knowing what the next film was about. Knowing James Cameron and some of the other projects he's worked on, I believe that there is going to be some sort of underwater, undersea themed based attraction in Pandora. I was then told by the lovely and talented Becky Mankin from MIMS Fan Travel that the next film is going to take place under the sea. Not Little Mermaid under the sea, rest in peace, but in a Pandoran or other world under the sea. That just makes a lot of sense. And save for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, we haven't had something like that in a long time. So I would not be surprised if we did not see a Pandora expansion next to Satuli Canteen using remarkable technology to take us underwater. All that being the case, I also think that we are going to suffer, depending on how you look at it, some losses at Disney's Animal Kingdom as well. I believe that Dino Land USA is going to, in whole or in part, be completely rethemed, and in some areas, as in like Primeval World, be gutted. If you've been to Animal Kingdom recently, Primeval World is currently closed. If you look at it closely, which I like to try and do when I go there, you can see that when Disney stops updating attractions, when they stop giving them TLC, Primeval World, I didn't even mention the Imagination Pavilion. Clearly the Imagination Pavilion is going to go away. Not the pavilion, but the Figment attraction is going to go away. I've said this on past shows. Figment, the attraction is going to go away. Figment's going to stay. Dreamfinder in his new comic book form may come back. I also believe the same is true for Dino Land. I think Primeval Whirl is on its last legs. If you want to play some of the carnival games, now would be the time to go and do it. I think that whole Chester and Hester's Dino-Rama is probably some prime real estate, including some areas behind it, which they can blow out and expand outward to. So I think it would not shock me if it was themed after Zootopia. We know Zootopia is going to one of the overseas parks, Shanghai. It would not surprise me, if, especially since they're doing it somewhere else, for them to do it here in Walt Disney World as well. I think I covered all the parks. Yes. Yeah. Well, I didn't go too much. I didn't want to say, I didn't mean to, whatever. Future World, there's more coming to Future World, but I because of what I believe I know, I don't want to touch on those things too much. But Figment, peace out. Primeval World, Dino Land, hasta la vista, baby. Let's go outside the parks to the resorts. Disney is not done building yet. Grandestino, if you haven't been there, go check it out. Go check out our recap episode on show 560 something, 560, 559, somewhere around there. Somebody link it up. I do believe we're going to get another Disney Vacation Club resort. What I also think, and it might not, and I don't think it's going to be the same, and maybe this is a bit of a, it's I'm blue sky thinking here. I believe we're going to get a new Disney resort on property at Disney Springs. I think they're going to build a convention type hotel. I was trying to think the other day where the ground parking lot levels are. So where Grapefruit and Strawberry is on the left-hand side behind Cirque du Soleil. There's a relatively nice piece of property there, which, oh, by the way, just happens to be on the water as well. If you make it a convention resort, all of a sudden you have, for conventioners, not just an attractive new venue, but for those businesses, bars and restaurants and night spots in Disney Springs, Yahtzee. That's why Boardwalk was built, right? They built Boardwalk, they built Jelly Rolls, they built the dance hall because the Swan and Dolphin needed places for conventioners to go. Why, if you build it, if you build Disney Springs, the conventioners will come, especially if you put a convention, not specific, but a convention type resort right there on property. It's easy to solve the parking dilemma. You just build another deck. It's that simple. You've got the property there and across the street. I also think we're going to get some ideas and some renderings of the Star Wars Hotel. I think tying into everything that's happening with Galaxy's Edge, with the Rise of the Resistance, with the stuff coming to Disney Plus. I'm going to talk about the films in just a little bit. I certainly think we're going to get a much better idea in terms of what this resort and what the model is going to look like in terms of it being a cruise type experience, a 3-day, 4-day, all-inclusive, closed front end, closed back end type experience. Let's quickly touch on Disneyland, Disney California Adventure, because in case you haven't noticed, I'm a bit of a Spider-Man guy. We are going to get details on the Marvel themed land, which still can't use the word Marvel yet. I think that's going to change. I think we'll get some concept art. I think we'll get the name of the Spider-Man attraction. I'm really sure we're going to get the name of the Spider-Man attraction. And I think we're going to sort of get the name of what this area in DCA is going to be. And I think we'll also maybe get a preview of what's going to make this attraction special. I believe, not all the rumors and the reports that you hear online, but I do believe that there is going to be a unique use of technology enhancements. So think VR, think AR in terms of the Spider-Man ride. And you know what? I almost wouldn't be surprised if DCA gets a whole new name. And that might just be sort of, the lack of sleep and lack of caffeine and lack of food and lack of dessert and lack of food talking. I almost wouldn't be surprised if if DCA doesn't change its name, because that too, the identity is changing a lot, right? In terms of what that park is, what it's celebrating. Look at all the IP that's in there now with Pixar Pier and Cars Land and Marvel Land. I think DCA is going to be getting some additional love as well. So I do. All right. Before I get to a couple of bigger thoughts, I'll quickly touch on I saw somebody mention the cruise line. I think we're absolutely going to get not just the names of the ships. I think we're going to get some of the locations. I know, Becky, we were talking with the Nation people the other night about some of the locations of where they're going to call home, meaning where does the dream, the magic, the wonder, and the fantasy, where do they call home? Does California, it's a place you ought to be. So they loaded up the truck, they moved to Beverly Hills, that is, swimming pools, movie stars, maybe a permanent home for the cruise line, San Diego, somewhere else for maybe like the magic, the wonder. I can almost see the wonder sort of calling that place home. I think it would be an interesting conversation, and I know we've done this in the past. I think some of the predominant names that we're guessing are, and I'll put them only in alphabetical order, the Believe, the Discover, and the Wish are ones that I keep hearing over and over again, although I would love to see a ship called the Marvel. I know we talked a little bit about overseas. I won't go into too much about that. I know we got the official announcement about the Zootopia land. I think we'll learn more about that, I guess, again, especially in terms of what it means for the domestic parks. And look, and maybe in terms of wish list, and this is where I want, and I'll open up the phone lines in a couple of minutes just for some of your guys' thoughts as well. You've heard me say over and over again about this Universal Disney Marvel swap. Now is the time. Now is the best time. What do I mean by that? If you look at it from a purely business perspective, right? Let's take the dark place down the street that is desperately trying to expand. How are they expanding? They need to build property, and the expansion of the park miles down I-Drive. There are inherent potential issues with that. Keeping guests inside the experience in the bubble, moving guests there and back. Space at Universal is at a premium. What do they have that they don't really have? And it's Marvel. Because in Islands of Adventure, they have this very weird, unique, convoluted, and dated home of Marvel characters that are not only ones that are unfamiliar to a lot of people because they exist in the comics from the 60s and the 70s based on the agreement, but they're ones that are not necessarily relatable. I've said this, if a kid goes in there expecting to see Spider-Man or Wolverine or, whomever from the film, that's not what they're going to get. They're going to get a character that does not look like that. They're going to get my 1967 Green Goblin that looks like he sort of stepped out of the cartoon, right? They're going to get a Spider-Man that looks different. They're going to get Bumblebee Wolverine in his yellow costume and a Storm that's like, you sort of look like Storm, but you're not Halle Berry. I think the Islands of Adventure, and Becky, forgive me, I don't know what it's called. What's Beetle Bailey Land called over there? Whatever they call that land that has like Beetle Bailey and Dudley Do-Right and Hagar the Horrible and all these other cartoon characters that nobody save for like the old guy in the room, barely knows, remembers. That's prime real estate. It's in everybody's best interest for them to divest themselves of the Marvel properties, no longer having to pay Disney, the competitor down the street, for promoting their characters, right? It literally makes no sense, right? It literally is like McDonald's selling Burger King hamburgers, old Burger King hamburgers, in their restaurants. I just thought of that, so it might not make sense, but I think it does in my little mind. It doesn't serve anybody any good. It doesn't serve Burger King because those aren't the current characters. It doesn't serve McDonald's because they are cannibalizing their own space and their own IP, of which they now have a lot that they would love to put in their main park. There's a lot of different, Disney right now has an embarrassment of riches of intellectual property that they can easily trade Universal Studios for, whether it's The Simpsons, whether it's some of the other properties. I mean, I think there's some creative things that are already going on. Listen, I would love for it to happen this year. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I think this Universal Marvel swap is going to happen. Is it the super secret announcement that's coming the day before? I don't think so. I do believe that this secret project, just to go off a little tangential for a second, I think the secret project that I was looking at is not a fifth gate. It is not Bob Iger announcing his replacement or his candidacy. I think it's going to be something that is related to cast members, philanthropic initiatives, the environment, maybe something on a global type scale. It is not going to be a Disney airline. That is not where and how. It's also on a smaller venue too. That's just not what or where I think. But I do believe, and again, maybe this is not the year it happens because there's still a lot of dust settling on the Fox deal, but I have to believe that this Marvel Universal relationship and contract has outlived its original intent from so many years ago, because things have changed so dramatically. It behooves everyone on both sides and is a win-win for fans of both parks and properties for that to happen. From the movie perspective, very quickly, personal, I would love to see details about Spider-Man 3. It probably won't happen, but just please bring out Tom Holland. I think we're going to get the Soul trailer from Pete Docter, and I think we're also going to get an Episode 9 trailer. I mean, this is where it happens. It's not a Comic-Con thing. I don't even think it's necessarily for Star Wars Celebration, because we got a lot at last year's Celebration. I think this is the place that Disney releases details and some surprising characters for Star Wars Episode 9. So that's what I think is going on. I did not realize or mean to go so very long with it. I would love to take a couple of phone calls from you guys if we could. Let me just fire up the phone lines very quickly. I will put this up for you so you can wait for it. Wait a minute. Where is it? There it is. There you go. So if you would like to, let's kill this. If you would like to call in with a question, with a prediction from what you expect from D23 Expo, you can call in live, 407-413 WDW1. David, I expect to hear more about the Marvel movies that were tossed out at the tail end of Comic-Con. I don't think they're going to go too far into that, Steven. I just don't. Look, I could be wrong, and maybe the fifth gate is what they're waiting. I just don't think this is the time for them to do it. but who knows? We could all be very, 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 very wrong. So we just fire this. All right. If anyone wants to call in, I'll take a couple of calls before we head out. So I see a lot of people talking about Fifth Park. I'm just sort of going back in the bring back E-Ride nights. All right, let's take the first call. Hey, it's Lou. You're on the air.
Hi, Lou.
Hi, who's this?
This is Caleb. Wait a second. I'm gonna put this on speaker. Okay, I'm on speaker now.
All right, Caleb. So, what do you think? What is your one big prediction or wish list item for D23 Expo?
Prediction. My prediction is that there's like those untitled films that they announced during like last year. So I hope they make like a Mickey Mouse film again, like another, like they did with Fun and Fancy Free. But I like them to like make that style like they did with Eric Goldberg,
right?
With that in 3D animation. That would be cool if they would like, oh hey, there's like this story where they're going through.
Right, I think they're going to fill in some of the gaps, certainly on the studio's timeline in terms of November 2020, early 2021, and then late 2021, in sort of what some of the big tentpole films are going to be. It would be interesting if it's a Mickey thing, especially with the Runaway Railway coming up. So I'll be very curious to see. So, all right, I'm going to take a couple of the quick calls to see how many of the different predictions we can get, and then who's going to be right come next week. So thanks very much for calling in, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
I didn't even mention sort of the slate of films that I think is going to be discussed even more. And I expect, like they had in the past, what they had last time, it was the big Wreck-It Ralph booth as well. So I don't think there's going to be a villains themed park. Mandy, a villains themed restaurant would be nice. Some people are, as I'm looking through the comments, a lot of people are talking about a lot of retro stuff, both in animation and in terms of the parks as well. So it's interesting this sense of nostalgia. Brian, I don't think they're overselling the Secret Project. I think that's why they're not making a huge deal out of it. There's not graphics for it. They're not doing this giant countdown. I think what's going to happen is they're going to make an announcement the day before, and then there'll be a discussion about it actually at Expo, which makes you think it's, something with the cast, it's something with the environment, it's some sort of with other type of global initiative that's not specific to the parks. We could be completely off base, but I'm just not getting that feel or that vibe just as yet. So Pandora expansion, I absolutely believe that is going to happen, whether it's announced now or not, or what the timetable is going to be. But like, as I said earlier, I without a doubt believe Pandora is going to get an expansion, especially doing it now before the new film comes out. Hey, it's Lou. You're on the air.
Hi.
Hi. Who's this?
Hi, this is Veronica Shahida.
Hi, how are you? Where are you calling from?
Michigan.
Michigan. And are you coming out to Expo, or are you going to be following along live for Expo?
I'm going to be following along live as long as I have service, hopefully.
And what are you either most looking forward to or predicting, or is sort of on your wish list?
I'm most looking forward to the Doctor Strange movie. It looks amazing. I can't wait for it to come out.
So I assume you were a huge Doctor Strange fan of the first film?
Yes, and a huge Benedict Cumberbatch fan. He's amazing.
You just think he's dreamy. I understand. I get it. I will tell you that I liked Doctor Strange more the more I saw it, and then the more I saw him in Infinity War and in Endgame. So, I don't know how they're going to piggyback on what they talked about at Comic-Con, in terms of giving us more information about the current films, or maybe this is Feige's opportunity to talk about some of the things in Phase 5, Blade, Mutants, Fantastic Four, which would make everybody's little brains fall out of their heads. So,
yeah, that's what I kind of think is cool about it, because he could be in anything because of the way his character is.
I agree, and I dig him. I dig him as well. So it'll be interesting to see.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much for calling in, and I will look for you in the box next week.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Jen Tremley says, do you think we'll ever get a nighttime parade in Magic Kingdom again? Yeah, I think, Jen, that's going to be part of the 50th anniversary. I think that's what is what they're waiting for to bring it back. It would almost be not anticlimactic to do it earlier, but it would be fitting to announce that it's coming in time for the 50th anniversary. So, let's take one more. Hey, it's Lou. You're on the air.
Hey, it's Lisa.
I'm sorry, Lisa.
How you doing?
Lisa
Donato Glassner from Windermere, Florida.
How are you?
It's been a day. I'm good.
It has.
I'm very good.
And congratulations. If you don't know, Lisa had she dropped her kids off at school and went to Magic Kingdom and shared some photos from there, and it's been picked up by Good Morning America and Insider, and you name it, it's been picked up. So congratulations on ditching your kids and being mom of the year.
Yeah. So no, it's like international at this point, and we went. I'll tell you guys. I told Lou, but I was at the pediatrician with my kids when Inside Edition called, and we ended up doing a very frazzled last minute FaceTime with them from my kitchen table that will probably be airing apparently tomorrow night. So my apologies in advance, because I can't even imagine what we looked like. Yeah, it's been a day. Day.
I'm sure. But you're coming out to Expo, yeah?
I am coming out to Expo, yes.
And this is not your first time. So what are you either looking forward to or predicting or just sort of on your little wish list?
I mean, I think you hit on, all the big stuff. I'm just I think I went to, and I said before, when we went to Expo last time, it was my first one, so I went in really, really blind about sort of how it all worked. But I think I kind of knew everything that was coming at that point, because there had been so much talk in advance and so many rumors. So I think this year, I'm hoping to be a little bit more surprised than I was last year. I think the only thing that we left knowing that we had no idea about before was the number of ships that they were going to be building. So I'm kind of looking forward to being, a little bit more surprised this year. But I'm an Epcot girl, so I'm just so excited to see what's coming there. I think there is officially going to be a model. Yeah. A mock-up model of Epcot similar to what we saw of Galaxy's Edge last time. So I'm going to sort of be sprinting over there as soon as I can to check that out. And I'm curious to hear I'm curious to hear if they say a little bit more about sort of what the grand plan is for Tomorrowland. And what they're going to be doing over at revamp.
I think a lot of the focus is certainly going to be on Epcot, but I certainly think we're going to. I think Tomorrowland is going to get a much broader overhaul than maybe people are expecting at this point. So, because again, if you look at it, piecemeal, it sort of makes sense that the handwriting is on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same idea as Future World is sort of, the challenge of kind of keeping up with something that's called Tomorrowland or Future World at this point, is pretty challenging. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what they sort of reimagine on that front. But, yeah, hoping to be surprised this year and just looking forward to being there with a bunch of other people who are as obsessed as we are. So
I'm sure. Always a blast.
It'll be a good time.
And I look forward to seeing you there. I'm going to grab another call. Congratulations again, and I will see you at Expo.
Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye.
I was going to say something about Tomorrowland again too. Yeah, I think I think that the Tomorrowland change is one that has been coming for a long time. And if you go to Tomorrowland now, and I was there for, I don't remember why I was there, but if you go there now and see, and I'm only hyper aware of it from doing like the audio tours and stuff, subtle bits of signage and references to the underlying story of Tomorrowland are gone. It makes me think that they're almost sort of setting the table to make some more monumental type changes. So, look, I could be completely wrong. Everything I said, and I'm going to keep my notes. This is where we can talk about it. We'll compare my notes now versus comparing them when we're on the show floor and see just how wrong I completely am. Because I think Disney has always an interesting conundrum, which is satisfying the fans that want something new to look forward to, while also not alienating the ones that have a true emotional connection to the lands, to the attractions, to the characters. It's a delicate balance that they have to face, and I think they do it well. I think doing things like bringing back the Orange Bird, more of the predominance of Figment, who I believe is going to sort of be almost crowned the unofficially official mascot of Epcot, which he kind of has sort of taken over that role anyway. So yeah, it'll be it will be very. So Brian says, do I think Disneyland will ever get rid of the People Mover track? I think, Brian, they too would need to say their Tomorrowland has to undergo a massive refurbishment, because getting rid of that track is going to necessitate a lot of removal of infrastructure and closure of a lot of different things, I think, all at once. So I think, I'm not sure. I don't know enough. I don't feel like I've had my finger close enough on the pulse of Disneyland to say that that land is going to get that same type of change. But I absolutely believe that Tomorrowland. So get your Tomorrowland audio guide before it's out of date, and everything that I've done is completely going to be a moment in time. Carousel Progress, Andrew. Carousel Progress has always remained an interesting chess piece, as it were, because I think it has to stay the way it is, save for that final scene. But again, you run into the problem. By the time they close it and design it and build it and open up it again, they're using technology that is going to be relatively commonplace in a year, 6 months. You can put the most modern phone, or the next generation we think of phone, or look, the woman, grandma's using an Oculus Go. Like, that's literally what she has, right now. So it's a testament to how quickly the technology is advancing. So how do you do that without dating your attraction right off the bat? The answer is simple. You make that final scene the way it was originally, make it be a scene from the 60s, and that sort of is the way it was according to story, was that the Carousel of Progress was a museum. So again, if you listen to the audio guide, I sort of explain what each building was in Tomorrowland. The Metro Retro Historical Society is there for a reason, to preserve the history, and that's exactly what Carousel of Progress was meant to be, which is how they were able to justify these scenes that had no modern futuristic theme or technology or space sort of vibe to it, because it was us as people in the future looking at the past. That's now relatively an impossibility if you try and keep that last scene current. I think that's really almost the only solution, save for doing something that has screens, which is obviously not what we want. I don't particularly want the Carousel of Progress to be, but it's going to be interesting, because we even saw this last year. Whenever you make change, somebody's going to get upset, right? Because, and I say this all the time, Stitch's Great Escape was somebody's favorite attraction. There's some kid that walks in and is really bummed that Stitch's Great Escape is closed. There's somebody else that is sad that the Timekeeper is gone. There's somebody else that's going to be. So no matter what attraction you might not like that might go away, there is always the potential for you taking away a memory of somebody. When the Tomorrowland Speedway closes and they insert electric cars, and I'm guessing, I'm just using a hypothetical, some of us can go, remember that sound, that roar, that rumble of the cars? Right? Remember that, like listening to it sort of ramp up and gear up, that smell of the gasoline? We complain about it sometimes now, but those are some of the visceral things that we remember and we love and we associate with those attractions. It's not just what we see, but what we smell. Obviously, for me, it's what we taste. So it's that's why I think what is going to be happening to Epcot is very, very deliberate in terms of wanting to respect the initial intent of what that park was supposed to be, touching on the nostalgia, but also looking ahead as well. That's tough, man. That's a tough balance to strike for Disney, and I'll be very, very curious to see how they do it. Yeah, Becky says, no matter what you do, the internet's going to light itself on fire for a while. They get something cool and they're happy. And look, there's going to be the Twitter explosion. I'm never going back to, not me, other people. I'm never going back to Disney World. And of course, they come back to Disney World because what they do, 99.99999% of the time is really cool. And that's why we go, and that's why we love it. And that is why we dig it. Matthew, you do not need to be a member to go to Expo. However, they announced today that Expo is completely sold out. There are no tickets for any day at all. Done and done. So the only way to get to Expo right now is to join us live all 3 days. I got to shamelessly plug, obviously, because if you can't get there, my goal of being there is to bring the Expo to you however I possibly can. And so we're going to be broadcasting all 3 days live while we're there. We're also going to have a meet of the month before Expo begins at Flo's V8 Cafe on Thursday. Make sure if you are thinking of coming that you go to the events page at WDWRadio.com and RSVP there, because if there is any changes, and sometimes that does happen, especially because of the chaos of Expo, if the time needs to change, if the day needs to change, please, 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 I want to make sure that you don't miss it. I do want to give you a couple of other quick little reminders before we go. I'm going to announce the first round of speakers for my Momentum Weekend Workshop in Walt Disney World, September 28th and 29th. You know that Steve Schussler from Boathouse, Yak and Yeti Rainforest, and T-Rex Cafe is our first keynote speaker. I'm also announced the first round of speakers as well as topics. Every year the event does sell out. We are more than 60% sold out already. It is limited only to 50 people. So I expect once the speakers are announced, once the sessions are announced, which is probably going to happen tomorrow, it is going to sell out. But again, I do have a promo code that you guys can use. You can use code SPEAK100 or WDW Radio 100, and it'll save you $100 off. Again, just to go to LouMangello.com for more information. What else? Don't forget, too, to check out this week's show, Top 10 Little Things We Miss in Walt Disney World, Part 2, including a little retro radio. And if you listen to the show, or if you remember going to Walt Disney World very, very early on, you may remember exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Couple other quick reminders too. Thanks to our friends over at Mouse Fan Travel, we still have, Becky, is it 3 or is it down to 2 cabins remaining for our cruise out of New Orleans, February 7th through the 14th. These are at day one pricing. You know, Disney Cruise Line, as the ship fills, pricing goes up very, 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 very fast. We have day one pricing for both inside and outside cabins. You can learn more. There's some frequently asked questions over at wdwradio.com/NOLA20. What else? What else am I forgetting? Whoops, let me get rid of this. I am also going to be in I'm going to be in London in November. Going to have some information about some meetups that we're going to do while I am there as well. I'll be speaking from the 9th to the 11th, and then a couple of days after, we'll probably do a little get together and food, just because. Yeah, hi, I'm Lou. Please, please, please don't forget to mark your calendars, turn on notifications, and more importantly, spread the word. Tell your friends about D23 Expo Live next week. I promise you, I'm going to try and make you feel as if you are there. We are sharing a booth together with Mouse Fan Travel. We're going to have interviews, contests, game, surprises, recap of stuff as it happens, and I'm going to take you through the entire expo as if you were there. You don't need a ticket. You don't need comfortable shoes. We're going to do that for you. So thank you again to Becky and the team at Mouse Fan Travel. And of course, as always, if there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know. I want to thank all of you guys who are members of our Box People community. If you're not, please make sure you go to wdwradio.com/boxpeople. That is our group over on Facebook. And huge thanks to everybody who is part of the WDW Radio Nation family. I appreciate your love and your support and your friendship. You have no idea not just how much it means to me, but really how much it helps the show. So if there's anything I can do for you, by all means, please, please, please let me know. I love you. I appreciate you. I cannot wait to see you next week on the floor or in the box at D23 Expo. Thanks so much for watching. See ya.
The weather at our outpost today? Hot and humid, hot and humid, hot and hot and humid, humid. Next week, the True Life Adventurers Club will be holding its 3rd annual meeting.
The backside of water.
Please stay seated and keep your hands inside the boat until a cast member comes to help.